So after setting up your drums, the technique that you use when playing the drums, when they're set up, is gonna be one of the biggest things you wanna keep in mind. So for my snare drum, with having it lower, my stick, because I use the butt end, it's kind of good to match kind of the logo in the middle up with the rim, and then you want your stick to match right in the middle of kind of the dot on mine. And imagining a dot on every single drum head is kind of a good approach to have when you're hitting the drums, because that's where it's gonna sound kind of the best. It's gonna have the best definition. So for a snare drum, this is what my rim shot sound would sound like. So it's got that nice bite to it. It's really crispy and is really fat. But here's how a non-rim shot sound would sound with my approach. So it still sounds nice and great. It has a good crack to it, but you can kind of hear the more intense crack out of the rim shot. Both are great, but it's just kind of a good way to keep in mind of having the stick right in the middle of the drum is going to be kind of one of the best models. And that goes exactly the same for the tom. So you're going to want to have, right in the middle of the drum is a good kind of approach. So here's what I would do for my toms. So here's how I would not hit my drums. So really, like I said, you really want to aim for the middle of the drum. So imagining a dot like this on every single one of your heads, if you don't have dotted heads, is gonna make your drum sound the best, because all the tension is going right to the middle of that drum head. So you wanna hit right where all that tension is meeting at, and that's gonna make your drums sound the best. So hitting your toms exactly like this, versus hitting them maybe closer to the rim. You're gonna get kind of more of those warbly tones if you hit closer to the rim, because not all the tension is right there. So you're really just gonna be hitting kind of towards that specific lug. So again, if you aim for the middle, kind of imagining a big dot in the middle of your toms or your drums is gonna be the best way to make your drums sound and sing the best. Next, I'll give some good examples of how to kind of hit the cymbal, and you'll see this is kind of the do, so it's almost through, it's gonna go through the cymbal, and the don't is kind of where my wrist is almost cocked and you're kind of hitting at it. Again, kind of a do, kind of don't. Your wrist will kind of go up with the stick and kind of hit at it, whereas kind of the through, it'll just kind of naturally kind of feel and go through the cymbal. But here are those examples. Do. Don't. So you can see that I'm not hitting straight at it, but I'm hitting kind of through it and letting my stick go down through as I hit. With my ride cymbal, it's gonna be a little bit different. I like to use kind of this meaty section of my stick that really causes just kind of a good sound to come out of it. And I'm hitting really right in this kind of money region right here of the cymbal. So you're not getting really high kind of tones out of it, but you're getting really the kind of the body out of the cymbal. So here's how I would kind of play my ride cymbal. And you can see that when I like to crash on it for bigger sections, I'll kind of get a little bit closer to the bottom, but I'm still having most of my stick, most of that kind of meaty section, still stay pretty close to the cymbal. I'm not hitting straight at it, but I'm kind of hitting through it. I'll give a little example of how I would hit in a song. For hi-hat technique, it's really how you use your stick, whether you're using the tip or the kind of the body of your stick is how you're gonna make your hi-hat sound. So a really kind of short and really staccato sound is gonna come from the tip, which will sound like this. Whereas kind of the more meatier section is gonna come from using the body of your hi-hat. And really using the tip kind of when you're going faster on kind of 16th note passages like this is gonna sound better than using kind of the body on that than that would sound like this. So with hi-hat technique, it's really, like I said, kind of how your foot presses on the pedal and how you approach with your stick. So whether you're putting a lot of pressure with your foot or using the tip of the body is gonna be the biggest difference depending on each part or different part of the song. For kick drum technique, the biggest thing I've learned is to allow my beater to come back off the head for my next kick instead of leaving it on the head. If I come back off, it allows the kick drum to ring and resonate more, whereas if I leave it on the head, it's gonna choke the sound. So here's what that exactly sounds like. If you're doing a floor on the floor technique, kind of the choke sound is gonna be a little bit better because you're wanting it to sound really separated. But if you're kind of allowing and just playing in general, I feel like coming back off is gonna allow your kick drum to sound a lot better outside of the mix. As kind of a final wrap up for technique, another question I get asked is whether I should use my wrist or kind of my whole arm for my approach. And it really, I'll use a little bit mixture of both here and there, but I'd say most commonly I like to use my wrist. It allows, I feel like it just is more succinct with how I work, and I feel like if I use my whole arm, it's a little more stress on my arm, and really it's more work than I need to be doing. So here's kind of an example of using my wrist versus using my whole arm. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. We hope that was really helpful and informative for you, and feel free to check out the other drumming videos we have in the series.